let's start off from DXY. So I left these markups from Tuesday's call. All right. Pretty much following up what we were talking about the other day, right? And as we can see, right, let's go into what we were talking about on Tuesday. Right, this is the initial point of invalidation where we were here, I believe. Right, the 9th. Yeah, the 9th. Right, so we were here the 9th, right around here. I think we were even seeing this give us an upside move. Right, and so we were talking about the fact that this can probably continue. Right, and I wouldn't want to see this break because this is the continuation point of invalidation, meaning, right, I want to see this continue, right, and that's exactly what happened, right, and so I'm not going to assume any type of pullback to this point of interest unless we see the initial break of structure. Okay, so then, right, we saw this happen. I'm not sure if this is a mitigation down here. Was it? Kind of, maybe down here. But the moral of this potential move here was the fact that, right, this low took out this final leg down, and we also even took this leg down, or took it out. So as soon as this happened, right, we have now a reason to assume bullishness, right, to at least up here, because this is our point of interest. This is the point of interest we pointed out. So, all right, what happened after that, right, we see these intraday continuations. All right, intraday continuation, until we get to our point of interest. What happens in our point of interest? Right, you could easily consider this to be a type of distribution. By that I mean, right, pre-supply, we don't have the volume, right, but buying climax, up thrust, right, you could even probably consider this a type of SOW or automatic reaction, doesn't really matter. But what the most important part here, right, is the fact that we did this. Actually, let me do this. Okay, this looks a lot better. Right, so as we're looking at this, right, I'm paying attention to, since this is a scalping time frame, I'm paying attention to the microstructures here. So in order to come up here, right, we need to take structure, right, in terms of this, right? So this is a liquidity grab because we took liquidity and then we led to an immediate break of structure, right? Then have our pullback, which is this, our LPSY, right, LPSY, which then leads, right, to our, right, potential flag nature, which is the SOW that takes out structure and promotes downside movement. Okay, a lot cleaner on EU side, right? But now it's pretty interesting, right? Because, right, the way that I'm looking at this, right, is, right, I'm looking at this final leg down, right? This final leg down, that was taken out, right? So there's two ways to look at it. There's the perspective of overall continuation, right? And that's supported by our minor intraday because we took out 2 levels of structure and came to mitigate down here, right? Which is, I believe, a M30. Yeah, M30 Wick, H1 too, I believe. No, M30 Wick. Right, but even now that you notice that, right, we're now in a very weird position, right? Because as I'm studying this, even though we've broken structure here, right, I'm not assuming that this is going to be the lower high that then creates a new low. I would love to see any type of premium, right? If not, I would even love to see us tap this 90.771. I don't remember what this was. 5 minute. Yeah, inefficiency, I think 10-minute. Yeah, oh yeah, something like that. 5-minute, 10-minute, right? I would love to see something there. That's initially what I wanted, because then that leaves no questions that there is nothing left to unmitigate, and there is a point of validation here. The reason why that's my point of validation, right, as you can see, a final push here that then created the leg down, and that's extremely significant to me, right, because there's obviously money here, and if we break that, then we have a disruption, right, and if we have that disruption that breaks here, then I'm assuming we can easily start seeing, right, this being the next target and this being the next target. But I'm not going to assume that, because that's not where I want this to go, you know. So we're in a weird predicament of whether or not we're going to, right, liquidity grab up here, right? Not that likely, because we have already created this new leg here that we stated. Preferably love to see a premium, like we said. And I would love to see that mitigation start to give us that final pullback, hopefully on unsupported volume on the euro side, or, you know, anything along those lines, right? But you guys are seeing this essentially come together, you know, in front of your eyes, right? Like, we pointed this out on Tuesday. It came to the point of interest on Tuesday. We had the M1 potential distribution, and over here on EU, right, didn't reach the point of interest I had, but like down here, like for example, I really wanted, I believe it was a 15. Did we even reach that open? No, we reached the inefficiency, right? No, not even that, right? I don't like that we didn't reach the bottom, right? And I was super hesitant to even take this potential accumulation here, right? We have our essentially pre-supply, right, selling climax. Unfortunately, the climactic part came before, which is still okay, because there's still a diminishment. But, right, as I'm seeing this, right, our potential secondary test, that is then taken out, meaning we've now came for liquidity up here, came for liquidity down here, right, and led to an M1 break of structure. Right, so you see how clean this looks from a horizontal point of view. We have our horizontal range, okay? This is now led, right, by this catalyst here. That is essentially this here being the pullback of this leg down here, right? This being the pullback to then continue lower, right? So this, in comparison to previous volume, is not there, right? Although it's not low, it's not there. So inevitably, right, I'm seeing this here, right, as the pullback, right, for the continuation. We now have unwillingness. Unwillingness, right, micro break of structure, right? So even though we mitigated, I believe up here, right, I'm acknowledging this final leg being broken out, right? So now this to this is my new leg, right? Whereas now we're facing inefficiency. And my stop would be below this low here, 2 pips, right below this low. The reason why below this low is because if we are to continue bullish order flow, right, then this low must not be broken, because if we now mitigate here, take out this previous structure point, then now you have a new formed leg, and you now have something to play to the downside. Okay, so stop loss is there. Obviously, you're taking this to the moon, right? Because we are still overall bullish, right? And our first target would have been here, 1401. Second target could have either been this previous high or this previous high, right? We reached this one, which is a 19. But I really want to see lower pricing. Like this is although we're getting the signs for bullishness, I want a bit lower. Honestly though, because of how impulsive this was, right, being objective, it really looks like we aren't going to see too much downside. And then just a continuation. I would love to see that be taken out. More importantly, I actually like to see that be taken out, right? Because even though we broke this initial structure, right, our major intraday is still bearish, right? So, but in order to get a major intraday structure break, you now have to play based on minor intraday, right? Which is why it's good to start looking for longs, right? Like we did down here. Unfortunately, I didn't get in because I wanted, you know, the points of interest down here. But theoretically, it would be very, very nice to see the major intraday still continue lower, even take out this low, which is yesterday's low, and try to get some type of liquidity grab, scalp break of structure, and then take it higher, right? That's ideally what you would want to see because you get the best possible entry, right? And you now build a narrative of major intraday getting a type of liquidity grab, right? You now have the narrative building that we can take out previous highs, and you now have the narrative building that you can now take out significant highs, right? So it's a big week. That's pretty much what that means. It's a big week. Although that daily was very strong, it was a bearish closure, I believe. Yeah, it still was a bearish closure. So best case, that gets a liquidity grab, and we can even potentially fill a daily inefficiency, right? Because this would then show to me that we're ready to go higher. But for the most part, I'm just being patient. Yeah, the idea of the liquidity grab makes sense. Because we can meet those points of interest that DXY didn't get to and EU didn't get to. But obviously we don't have enough data to assume that. I hope it does. I hope it does. EURGBP was another one, right? Remember what we pointed out, right? I'm gonna start doing limits on these, man, because this is annoying. Missed out a pretty big move here, right? We were talking about this, right? Weak order flow, right? So it wasn't a matter of whether or not we were going to see these points of interest be topped. It was a matter of when, right? So unfortunately, right, this weak order flow incited the continuation relatively soon. So we cannot assume these points of interest without there being a structure break. So I'm pretty sure there was a good intraday opportunity. Was there? No, there wasn't. No, very messy, right? But you can see here, right, there is no structured mitigation here. No structured mitigation. Weak order flow, right? Weak order flow, right? Not necessarily making sense as to why this is going higher. So naturally, we're just looking for opportunities, right, to take this lower. So we came to the first point of interest, right? That didn't necessarily, I don't even think that tapped. Weak order flow equals weak low. No, weak order flow means too many mitigations, right? There's just too many mitigations to incite me to believe we're going to be overall bullish now. Not only that, structure's still bearish. Yeah, so weak, it means it's taking too much effort to dictate a move. Yeah, you can see it as a target, but you then need the conversion of this upside move to then be converted to a downside move to then target this. But you can't just call it a weak low and start selling without reason. Yeah, so this actually did hit, right? So this hit, right? Broke structure. Did it mitigate fully? Yes, it did. It mitigated, right? And your TP1 was hit. Excellent trade, right? There's nothing wrong with that because you're playing with the information you have. There's nothing wrong with that. But you should acknowledge, right, that as soon as we took out this low, we then took out a micro break of structure, which is probably M1. Not a micro, a scalp, I'm sorry. Right, so as soon as we took out previous low, we reacted and took out the final leg, I guess here, that you could say created that final low. So that's now a liquidity grab, right? So naturally you could close your position, you could have your trailing stop here, whatever you'd like, right? And now that this potentially was mitigated, I'm either looking at the 50% or I'm looking at POI number 2. Right, so what happened immediately after that, we broke structure here, broke structure, continued, right? But we broke out of our point of interest, right? So this is not a how do I say it? This is not a structured move for me because it's not mitigating anything, right? So this is now to me unsupported, and I guess you could even say the volume supports that. So even though we had that initial break of structure here, right, looking at our overall leg here, still intact, right, very, very deep retracement, don't like that, right, but because we have that very, very deep retracement here, right, any move to the upside will probably not be supported. And you also got to acknowledge that you're looking at your point of interest up here, right? So that hit 50%. Right, that hit 50%. Break of structure, right? Point of invalidation now being the reaction. Point of invalidation. Right, and we can even try to zoom into this wick. Why does it do that? Why does it do that? That's so annoying. You see how the high here doesn't make sense because the high on M1 is up here? That's weird. Inconsistency in a broker. Okay, but anyways, right, in this scenario, there's 2 ways to play it. Right, you could take it off the entire wick, preferred, right? Preferred 1.5 pips, right? Or take it off to 50%, or you could split your risk. Either one is fine. This would be a pip. All right, don't like that pip stop loss, but anyways, you guys see the point, right? Even though it's only a pip, it's still a relatively large area, so that's all I really care for on my end. Right, so immediately after that, you could see the positions, you know, really carry over, as you can see. Right, you see that. Right, with your targets being obviously these weak lows, right? And the cool thing is like, after these weak lows, right, there's not really any significant pullback, so there's not really a significant target here. Significant target is down here. So right, those are your realistic targets. Right, weak order, bullish order flow there to what? Weak bullish order flow there to where? Where are you talking about the entry?
Let me annotate. I tried to short this. I got it wrong.
You're talking about.
You see my mouse? No. It's go on go 5 minute or 50 minute.
5 minute.
Yeah, can you see my mouse on the screen?
No.
Let me draw. Yeah, you're talking about the deep retracements. I saw this happening.
Yeah, it's weird though. On GBPs, you see that be an actual commonality.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that is weak order flow. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Excessively deep, and not only that, but it's taking too much effort to create substantial highs. Right. On top of that, you got momentum. Now you got bearish order flow here, inciting that move. Let's see, what are you saying? Would you have taken a sell setup there even though it created new scalp legs? Yeah, because I'm focusing on this overall leg. Right, no, this is your scalp leg. These are your micro legs, bro. These are your micro legs. Can you go over the initial POIs? Did I not cover them on Tuesday? Did I cover them on Tuesday? Yeah, go watch Tuesdays. What are you talking about? Oh yeah, that's definitely valid. That's definitely valid. Right, because this is now okay, let me see. I see what you're saying. I'm gonna just clear all of this. Who cares? Alright, can you delete your annotations, please? So if you notice, I use my point of invalidation very differently from, let's say, a bias point of invalidation and an entry point of invalidation. Right, the reason why I'm focusing on this, right, is because for one, I'm always telling you guys to focus on legs, right? But in terms of continuation, yes, you want the immediate mitigation, right? Which means this is completely okay, right? But just because this, right, mitigates, you still have to acknowledge the fact there's still another POI there. Right, so you have, right, you can usually narrow down your POIs to 2 POIs, right? And there's one usually, which this relatively looks like a 61, like a 71, 78% retracement, right, of the scalp leg continuation, right? But this plays the role, right? This mitigation is playing the role of taking out structure. Yo, can you please delete your stuff, man? Oh my gosh. All right. This mitigation is playing the role of creating the leg here. Right? Yeah, that just means, yeah, that means they're still pending to, yeah, that means you have mitigations pending. Yep. And this is preferred because now there's literally nothing that can be mitigated and you're at literally the smallest point, right, that validates your overall scenario that's, you know, developed from H4 plus, right? So this mitigation is playing the role of creating that new leg here, right? Which is not creating the bearish narrative because, right, we took out a high, we then broke structure even here, right? With this being your scalp breaker structure, I mean your micro breaker structure, right? This will be overall scalp here, right? Signifying a full leg. So this is my point of invalidation. This is not my point of invalidation. And if you notice, I do use my point of invalidation differently for different pairs. Yeah. It's gone. What are you talking about? And you have to notice too, EU does not move like EG. Your annotations. Okay, do your annotations again. I just saw the old ones. And don't use the same colors I'm using. Oh, they weren't gone on my screen, sorry. They weren't gone on my screen. You can see that in the recording. But does that make sense? Right, point of validation, not point of validation. Yeah, I know they weren't gone on my screen. That's what I said. Come on, bro. That's not a good argument, bro. Please. Yeah, that cleared up a lot. Good. So yeah, I'm just worried about here, right? Because let's say you try to take this continuation here, right? You're leaving an unmitigated POI, right? But the thing is, like in EU, this might not mitigate. Right, EU might not do something like this, right? But this is EG, which is why I tell you to look into tendencies. Right, and I'm just going off what I see. I'm not saying I took this trade, right? I don't trade at 1 in the morning, right? Well, usually. I don't trade at 1:30 in the morning. Right, I'm just going off what I see here. But I'm just following up the POIs from Tuesday. But yeah, other than that, GU did go up, right? Let's see. I haven't looked at this one either. Yeah, you see, remember when it was here and we said this will most likely continue up? Yeah. Another thing, by the way, is yeah, scenario if I was going to take the scalp like continuation and the top. Yeah, you see that's yeah, that's okay because you're acknowledging your point of invalidation. But the thing is too, if you're going off that and then you move your SL from a structure break, then you also have to consider that. So it really just falls down to the rules you use. Yeah. But I mean, shit. Do you guys have any questions? Did all that make sense? Let's see, how many people do we have on? 34. Wow. Nice. 34 people. Yeah, super cool. EG definitely played out very nicely. I mean, we've literally manifested this entire move over the past 6 months, guys. We've manifested this entire move. Right? Even when we were here, right, I was a bit confused at the time. I don't know if you guys remember. I'm pretty sure I said that. But this upside move did not realistically make sense to me because of the overall bias, the overall that could have been your UTAD, right? Whereas this now could be your LPSY, but we don't have enough data to assume that, right? So now you've seen it manifest over the past couple months. All right, honestly, really cool. What do you guys think of that? Because for the most part, our overall bias is played out, right? Yeah, I'll get POIs wrong every once in a while, right? But that's just because I don't have enough data at the time to show you. I'm just only showing projections, potential projections. Right, but the overall bias has been correct, you know, the entire time we've been here. And it's almost been a year. It's been a year and 2 months. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool that the biases have played out over the past couple months. Yeah, I think that's the best part about it. Seeing it and watch it play out. Because then that's literally you making it make sense. Right? Doesn't matter if I'm walking you through it, you're experiencing it. It's been nice to watch that. And reviewing the EG structure was a nice learning experience. Yes, it was, because it was very sloppy. So you're accustoming yourself to play in unfavorable environments. Yo, shut up. Shut up. Fucking. Oh, I don't have batteries. That's annoying. Oh well. I was just typing in when you said it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it's super cool. Because obviously over that time I've gotten better as a trader too. For the people that, what the hell am I doing? You got. I have not seen this since I made that post on Aaron. I wonder if Aaron's still holding that trade from up here. That's only 600 pips ish. Yeah, this is still bearish. I don't. This closure is very significant. Yeah, only 600 pips in the span of 4 or 5 months. No, like look at this right here. 600 pips in 20 days. You see what I'm saying? Don't just consider distance. Consider time. Because you have to make it worth your time. Yeah, right. But like from here, you see here, from here, it's only been 600 pips. but it's been 100 days, right? Whereas here, the same distance, 600 pips, over 22 days, right? So it's always, I like to consider that. And I guess that's kind of called rate of return, right? Finance term for you. I mean, that's how you calculate it, your rate of return, yeah. You need that information. Damn. Okay. Yeah, you'd like to see this keep going. Order flow on here has been pretty smooth, as I can see. Kind of. Right, because you could be playing in a redistribution here. Right, the reason why I say that is, right, you have this, and you have a break of structure. So, order flow definitely to the downside. Rate of return, yeah, look into it. Look into it. Yeah, right, like, adding to that, right? We took out a high, then broke structure, liquidity grab on a newly made, right, lower high, right, inducing bearish order flow. Yeah, kind of, yeah. Is that a complex pullback? No. And the reason why I'm inclined to this over that, right, is this is reversal chasing. This is continuation mindset. And I'm using much more data with this type of bias than the initial try to go in bullish here. But that can obviously, everything can obviously change, but I'd have to see these highs be taken out for me to assume that. Until then, this is bearish. Like, honestly, if I were to know what I know today and use support and resistance, I'd be super, simplistic about it. Right? Like, you can easily tell you're bearish here, right? If you're wanting to use any type of style like that, right? Quote unquote key level, right? Because you have resistance and you have support and then you have resistance, right? So this isn't necessarily me saying this is going to come back there and go lower. But what this is doing is it's inclining me to believe we're bearish, right? Because in order for us to create or make support into resistance, you need those structure breaks, right? So I don't shit on any methods. Well, not anymore. Equilibrium of the range, yeah. Theoretically, yeah, it looks like it, right? Does it not look like it? Like we saw in yeah. But yeah, I think it's just super dope seeing this play out, right? You don't necessarily need to trade everything. I just think it's cool seeing it happen. All right, and also adding to what we just said, what's it called? What I was just saying about seeing it manifest over time, seeing it actually play out over time. I think that's so much more meaningful than if, let's say, somebody recorded all the webinars and just gave them away. Right? These people are going to grind through all these webinars all at once, but they don't appreciate the overall experience. Right? Because it's not the same to watch every single webinar, immediately after each other. Right? It's not the same to do that, and it's in comparison to seeing the webinars every week. Why? Because you're allowing the information to digest. you're then able to test it out. You're able to see it happen, right? See why it happens, how it happens, when it happens, right? Is premium discount something that's programmed into algorithm? I mean, I wouldn't be able to answer that. I don't have the information. But the reason why you see premium and discount is just the whole smart money concept logic. The fact that you have to buy to sell and you have to sell to buy, right? Which is automatically the single reason why the market goes in a diagonal movement, even though it moves overall like this. Right, like for example, let me show you guys. Right, so I used to not believe in, oops, wrong one. I used to not believe in this model here. Used to not believe in that. Yeah, premium discount is a finance term too, but they mean different things in the finance. You know, kind of like liquidity. Liquidity means something a bit different in finance than it does like just for us regular traders. Right, but as you can see, I used to not believe in this. Why? Because the markets did not move like that. But I was basing that on an intraday model, right? I wasn't considering this, right? You see how overall, right, it does move like that, right? Little lesson today. From an overall scale, this is correct in terms of trading the currency security. Right. So I forgot what I was saying with that, but anyways, I'm pretty sure you guys get the point, right? Although the market moves like this, right, in order for these long legs to happen, you need to see this inside of those legs, right? And this is where that premium discount comes into play, right? And then the whole buy to sell, you have to sell to buy, right? But then you have to sell again to mitigate previous orders to then buy, you know? Obviously, it's a lot more complex, right? That's why price is fractal, because the same tendencies are happening. Like, does that not make sense? The market is fractal not because patterns occur, but it's because of, you know, this buy to sell model. And that's what makes sense to me. It may not be correct, but that's what makes sense to me. And as long as it makes sense to you and you can see success, then who gives a fuck, you know? That's a crazy 2-week closure, though. As you can see, that's a crazy 2-week closure. I would hate to see this just start mooning, though. Kind of want another entry. But yeah, other than that, do you guys have any questions? Yeah, for sure, for sure. Cool. We can probably end off the recording there. Let's see. Let me just make sure I see. All right, make sure.
Thanks again,
Right,
bro.
cool. For sure.